Olá, bem-vindo, bem-vindas a todas e todos ao Festival do Conhecimento da UFRJ, edição 2025. Meu nome é Michele Salles, eu sou curadora independente e professora associada do curso de graduação em Artes Visuais e Escultura, da Escola de Belas Artes da UFRJ e do programa de pós-graduação em Multimeios da Unicamp. Eu quero começar agradecendo à comissão organizadora do Festival do Conhecimento por terem aceito a nossa proposta e também toda a equipe da Pró-Reitoria de Extensão do UFRJ, além de parabenizar pela programação robusta e pelo tema necessário e urgente. Hoje eu tenho a honra de apresentar e mediar a sessão intitulada Conhecimento silencioso, futuros ressonantes, artivismo e dados alternativos de uma floresta norueguesa, com as artistas norueguesas Lin Obrestad e Hilda Dolheim, que agora eu vou apresentar as duas. A Lin Obrestad é uma artista multidisciplinar e cineasta que trabalha com o cinema experimental, artes visuais e documentários poéticos, com formação em artes plásticas, biotecnologia, antropologia e estudos culturais. Ela traz uma abordagem baseada em pesquisa para suas investigações artísticas. Os trabalhos da Lin têm sido apresentados internacionalmente em festivais de cinema, galerias e plataformas interdisciplinares, onde a arte e a ciência se encontram em diálogo. A Hilda Dolheim é uma artista visual norueguesa que trabalha com instalação, land art e projetos interdisciplinares. A sua prática frequentemente envolve colaboração, intervenções específicas em locais e a transformação de fragmentos cotidianos em novas narrativas. O trabalho da Hilda já foi exibido nacional e internacionalmente e está representado em coleções e comissões de arte pública. A palestra de hoje explora uma abordagem sensível à complexidade do ativismo ambiental, baseada em uma pesquisa alternativa em andamento, realizada em uma floresta norueguesa, ameaçada pela mineração de terras raras. Em vez de protestar, o projeto das artistas que apresento desenvolve modos de resistência silenciosos, ricos em dados e profundamente contextuais, usando cartografia alternativa, compartilhamento participativo de conhecimento e narrativas ambientais. Embora geograficamente distintas, a floresta norueguesa e a floresta amazônica compartilham o pesado fardo das pressões extrativistas e do apagamento ecológico. O trabalho das artistas que participam hoje dessa sessão propõe também um método para ouvir, sentir e narrar esses espaços de maneira diferente, oferecendo ferramentas e abordagens aplicadas em todos os biomas e contextos. Na minha opinião, o trabalho das artistas que vamos ouvir dialogam de forma profunda com práticas e processos de artistas latino-americanas que trabalham com arte e natureza, arte e meio ambiente, e também com questões relacionadas à crise climática, que tanto nos afetam atualmente no Brasil. Agora eu vou passar a palavra para as artistas, para a Lin e para a Hilda, que irão apresentar a sessão em inglês com legendas em português. Hi, Lin and Hilda. Welcome to Brazil. We are very glad to have you here, and we are looking forward to hear you both. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Michele. And thank you so much for welcoming us. And a warm greeting to everyone attending this masterclass as part of this beautiful festival. I am Lin, artist, teacher, and filmmaker.
And I am Hilda, artist and teacher.
This year's theme, Re-Amazonize Brazil, Ancestral Knowledge and Technologies, invited us to reflect on how sustainability, tradition, and innovation can meet. It asked us to listen to ancestral wisdom while also engaging with contemporary tools and to imagine futures where environmental care, cultural diversity, and technological practices are deeply connected. In that spirit, we hope today's session with our Extractions art project aligns with the festival's call. And while our work is based in Norway, we believe that some of our experiences and methods may travel across contexts. We hope they can open resonances with the Amazonian realities that this festival centers on, inviting reflection on how practices of care, attention, and resistance to simplification might be translated and adapted in different places.
And because we are using a translator and subtitles, we will speak slowly and remain close to the script. We ask for your patience for this. During this masterclass, we will share how we work with our projects, instructions, explore the role of context and methods, and invite you into a short text-based practice. Our approach is quiet and careful. We resist simplification. We cultivate attention. We try to sense otherwise. We hope you can adopt these ideas into your own places and practices.
We live in Norway, in a region which has one of Europe's largest rare earth deposits. And living here changes what the word value means. The forest near my home is under threat, and my neighbors and community carry mixed hopes and fears. I try to live in a place that is now being renamed for what can be taken from it. And this is not abstract for me. It reaches inside my home, and it changes my walk to the lake and my walks in the forest. This art project began by walking and writing. I mapped what was changing and what stayed the same. And when the debate narrowed to jobs versus nature, I worked to keep language open. I chose ambiguity as a form of fidelity to place. And this project is both an artwork in itself and a methodology. I met Hilde through a mutual need to recontextualize things. Because if you move or change an object, a text, or a gesture just a little bit, new meanings can appear. And we are both interested in exploring these transformations. And we have worked together since 2017. The Extraction Project is our way to make sense of living with extraction.
And the Extractions Art Project is an artist-led inquiry into relations between natural resources, everyday life, and storytelling. We combined fieldwork, artistic practice, and local knowledge. Our aim is not to simplify the situation. Our aim is to stay with the complexity and let many voices be present.
This practice matters to us because it honors what we feel: grief, fear, kindness, hope, and hopelessness. But we also feel a desire to stay with the trouble. Instead of reducing the conflict, our methods make room for interpretation. Other people can meet the works with their own sensing. We felt a need to invite other people in, to let them experience for themselves the trouble we were already feeling. So we organized a fieldwork weekend in a quiet, biodiverse forest near my home, a forest now under pressure from planned mineral extraction. The place is not a backdrop. The place is a collaborator and a witness. We invited people whose practices could expand how we know. And although Amazonia is very different from our forest here, and although our contexts are not the same, we hope that some of our methods, our ways of working with loss of nature, land, culture, history, and community may resonate with you and find new expressions through your own practices. And I think we would like to show a very short, small film to give you an idea of how we work. Thank you.
Yes.
We can go back to the presentation.
Yeah. So for 3 days,
Baseada.
we gathered artists and local participants. We designed the days for presence. We listened, we walked, we mapped, we shared work in progress, and we opened the camp to invited guests on the final day.
When inviting people to join this field weekend, we looked for a mix of backgrounds. Artists from different media, researchers in urban geography and environment, voices from conservation and policy, philosophy, ecology, painting and curation, film, sound, writing, history, music, and education, local residents and landowners, activists, and children. Because collaboration in this format is not an extra step after the art. Collaboration is the method, and collaboration is the art.
Eu vou ler o manifesto agora das artistas Lynn e Hilda sobre o trabalho delas. Prefácio, agosto de 2025. Um manifesto é muitas vezes imaginado como um grito. O nosso é um dispositivo de escuta. Tratamos o manifesto como forma artística, um andaime para a atenção, não um megafone. Não procura ter a última palavra, mas abrir espaço para a próxima relação. Tornar-se um instrumento de observação e de permanência, junto daquilo que resiste à simplificação. Nesse sentido, a forma e a política alinham-se. A atenção é ativismo, o cuidado é estratégico, a tarefa não é estreitar o argumento, mas expandir o campo. Escrevemos sabendo que a linguagem tanto limita como abre. As palavras não contêm a totalidade, haverá sempre resto, silêncio e experiência para além do dizível. E, no entanto, a linguagem permite-nos pensar com outros, através do tempo e do lugar. Cada leitura é um pequeno ato de cocriação. um retrabalho para a compreensão de cada um. Esse manifesto convida a essa circulação, liberta-nos para ser anotado, dito em voz alta, produtivamente mal lido, incorporado na prática e devolvido com novas arestas. O texto cresce de um conjunto de pensamento. Aqui, o discernimento não é um conjurado do nada, é colocado com cuidado, aproximando ideias existentes em relações frescas para que surja o novo. Caminhamos ao lado dos pensamentos de outros, entrelaçados com a nossa própria experiência e ideias, e continuamos em movimento. Ao arrumar essas relações na página, estendemos na prática as reclamações do próprio manifesto, que a resistência pode ser duracional e enraizada, que a arte é infraestrutura para a atenção, para o luto e para a possibilidade, que a fidelidade ao lugar excede o espetáculo e que devemos expandir o campo em vez de simplificar o conflito. Que esse texto seja uma ferramenta entre ferramentas para criar parentescos, sustentar contradições e permanecer.
I will just see if the subtitles. I will say now a little bit about why we wrote a manifesto. We worked in a site where the loudest voices always simplified.
Sorry, the subtitles has been a little bit crazy here.
We worked in a site where the loudest voices always simplified. Always left something out. In these conversations, nature had no voice. Nor do the people, the culture, the histories rooted in the land itself. They are drowned out by the language of money, of extraction, of geopolitical importance. And we needed a text that could hold complexity without rushing to a conclusion. So our manifesto is a listening device, not a megaphone. It frames attention and caring as civic acts. It asks us to expand the field rather than simplify the conflict.
We use the manifesto as both method and artwork. It guides how we host interventions like the field work weekend. It shapes our mapping, documentation, and public sharing like this masterclass. Its lines become prompts and a practical checklist. It underpins our text-based interventions by keeping language open and specific to a site.
So this is not a manual for protest. It is a guide for noticing and for sensing the complex. Quiet is not passive. Quiet is careful and durational. It is rooted in relationship, not in quick reaction. And we propose a field of inquiry and co-sensing, where the world is a collaborator, not a backdrop.
And of course, this is not new. More than anything, it is old. Ancient, looking to others for advice. To reconfigure and to revision common futures. We talk about art as a tool, but we do not mean an instrument of command. It is more a way of experiencing. The use of art is not single purpose. Its use is to multiply uses.
We hold a few core beliefs. Resistance is not always loud. Attention is civic action. To listen is to act. Care is political. And complexity is the field we live and work in. And collaboration is a very important aspect of this project. Because the site is complex, no single discipline is enough. We need the geologist's clarity and the musician's ear. We need the activist urgency and the patience of the philosopher. We need the painter's eye and the filmmaker's time. Collaboration helps us hold contradictions without canceling them. It helps us move from witnessing to situated action.
And these actions can be small and concrete. It could be a public conversation, letters, or shared archives, or any kind of artistic intervention inside the site. Our fieldwork format is one way to infrastructure the collaboration. It is portable, repeatable, and adaptable for other places under pressures. A walk in the threatened forest can be both research, ritual, and an artwork in itself, an interactive collaboratory performance.
So we treat art as infrastructure, not as decoration. We treat it as a system that sustains attention, grief, and possibility. Art does not explain the world. Art listens with the world. And where policy must be clear, art can hold multiplicity.
Art is also a way of living, by which we mean a choreography of attention. It is how we walk through places, how we keep and share stories, how we maintain what is fragile. We are teaching ourselves to slow down, to return, to repair. In this mode, making becomes a habit of care. We learn to attend to what exceeds us, other people, other species, other times. This double sense, art as a tool and a way of living, trains a kind of plural understanding.
And the images that you see throughout the presentations are either photographs of artworks made during the field weekend, or they are still images or documentation photos from the field weekend. We resist by being present, by simply staying put. And that means staying when the impulse is to move on. It means remaining with what is slow or unresolved. It means returning again and again. Presence here is a tactic. Remain, witness, return. We choose duration over spectacle. Many of our methods are simply ways to stay put. We stay with the unresolved so it can change us and maybe also others. And now we will talk about a very specific method we use that we have called tagging nature. It is a form of writing within the forest. And we will start with showing a short film of the work process. And after this, we will talk you through the method for making these interventions.
There's iron in the veins of this place, beneath the trees, beneath the waste. Echoes of hands that took and tore. Now roots are reaching, wanting more. Dust rises where we dig too deep. Dreams buried in the soil, soft sleep. We pull it up, we break it down, and wonder why we're bound, bound, bound. Mountains split and rivers turn, flames that heal, fires that burn. We speak in prophets, tally scars, while silence grows among the stars. Dust rises where we dig too deep. Dreams buried in the soil, soft sleep. We pull it up, we break it down, and wonder why we're bound, bound, bound. Mountains split and rivers turn, flames that heal, and fires that burn. We speak in prophets, tally scars, while silence grows among the stars. Dust rises where we dig too deep. Memories lost in water seeped. We pull it up, we wear it down, and wonder why we're bound, bound, bound. In the forest's breath, I feel a hum, a quiet song of what we've become. A shadow lingers in the green, a ghost of what this once had been. Hold close the roots, the rocks, the rain, the moments stitched with joy and pain. For all that's left when silence grows is what we lost but never chose. Dust rises where we dig too deep. Secrets the mountains try to keep. We pull it up, we break it down, and wonder why we're bound, bound, bound. Whispers drift like fallen leaves in the hollow place where no one sees. Roots reach out in silent plea for what was whole, for what was free.
So this is a way of making statements within the sites without causing any harm to the environment, and with tools that are easy to carry and easy to use. And when we start working on these texts, we might use fragments of conversations overheard, extracts of voices gathered, reports or newspapers and council meetings. And by reshaping these fragments, you give them new meanings.
The purpose of this practice is to create surreal, abstract, and poetic expressions. It is a way of making everyday details visible and meaningful. Details we might otherwise overlook. In doing so, the texts remind us of the balance between humans and the environment.
And these writings are not facts, they are not prose, and they are not traditional poetry. They are open and abstract, and sometimes even obscured. It is the form itself that becomes the voice, speaking in ways that words alone cannot. And the works move between abstraction and reality, and they also move between the intimate and the collective. They do not provide solutions, but they can create openings. And in these openings, interpretation itself becomes a form of silent activism. Now, let's look at something a bit different. Just like in cooking, we have ingredients, sentences, words to rearrange, and a little bit of removal and addition. And of course, a pinch of poetic rhythm. The method is playful. We take a sentence, break it into smaller pieces, and rearrange the words until something new appears. We add or remove elements, and we season it with the unexpected.
The goal is not to give clear answers, but to open up new spaces for interpretation. The text-based art may look a lot like a quote, but it goes deeper. It invites reflection and allows the reader to find different meanings depending on their own perspective. Instead of closing down thought, it opens up possibilities.
I think I want to say something about how the practice of making these text works in the wild is. First, you need to locate a stump or a fallen branch, something solid and natural to work on. And if necessary, prepare it by sanding and flattening the surface, so it's ready for your words. Then you can take out your tools and begin stamping. And once the letters are in place, you underline them with a waterproof, eco-friendly marker, making sure the text lasts. Just like that, your artwork is no longer only in your head, it's out there in the world, physical, visible, and ready to be discovered.
And when placed in the forest, the text become part of the natural surroundings. Yet at the same time, they appear strangely out of place. This dual presence sparks curiosity and creates surprise. The presence of language where one might expect to find silence.
This is photos from the field weekend, and here you can see me with the piece I created during this weekend. While exploring the site, I found this branch. I prepared the surface, and then I stamped the words, "The world walks in fair," onto it. And for me, the process was as important as the final result. It was about connecting with the place, choosing an object from the landscape, and letting the text transform it into something that speaks beyond the material itself.
We also placed chairs like the one that you can see in the photograph out in the landscape, and we also had stamped text onto them. The effect is one of duality, the familiar and the unfamiliar at once. The texts act not only as messages, but as interventions. They open new ways of perceiving both language and the forest itself.
And to make this kind of artwork, you need tools. And the most important ones are metal letter stamps. These are quite easy to find. You can often buy them in a local hardware store, or you can order them online from eBay, or from more specialized shops. Just search for metal letter stamps, and you'll see plenty of options. And if you want something more affordable or unique, it is also possible to find second-hand sets that still works perfectly well.
In all our interventions, we choose fidelity to place over visibility. Our rule is simple. Do not simplify the conflict. Expand the field. Before deciding, we ask 3 questions. Have we paused? Have we invited in other ways of knowing? Have we allowed time for care? We practice epistemic humility, which means that we try to stay humble about knowledge, that we admit what we do not yet understand, and that we allow myth, memory, smell, light, and sound into the archive. For us, holding on to some ambiguity is a way of being faithful to a place rather than forcing it into simple answers.
And care is not just a feeling, it is strategic. To slow down is subversive. And care can look like a long walk and repeated visits. It can be listening without rushing to name. Care helps us resist forgetting. Care is how we remain present. And we have some examples from artworks and practices from the field weekend that include alternative maps, communal logbooks, walks and conversations with neighbors and landowners. We have temporary installations, and we have films and videos. But in this kind of work, the context is the most essential, to be present in a place that will soon be gone, and to connect with all that lives there and will also disappear. It is humbling, sobering, and difficult to face. And the aim is not to win an argument. The aim is to widen the ground we stand on together.
Methodologically, this means that the artworks functions as ways of opening fields of attention. Not all kind of knowledge can be captured in diagram or a single framework, and that is why one form can translate into another. A drawing can turn into a walk can turn into a sculpture can turn into a map, and in this way, art carries the overflow, the aspects of experience and knowledge that other systems cannot contain. I think maybe we should stop now as we have 10 minutes left, I think, and we'll see if we have some questions perhaps. We hope that some of our methods can be useful in your own practices and context as ways of finding resilience, care, and imagination when facing powerful forces that often seem to leave little room for resistance or hope for change. And we would really like to hear your thoughts and insights, and also think about what might a silent intervention look like where you live, and how might we expand the field of attention here together.
Thank you, Lynn, Hilda. Thank you so much for your speech. And since we still have 10 minutes, I made some notes that I let you know inside the room we are now, so you can read the questions I have just put it there, and I'll translate it for the Brazilian audience. Bom, eu deixei no chat para Lynn e para Hilda duas questões breves para elas explicarem um pouco melhor, ou para a gente ouvir um pouco, elas falarem um pouco mais sobre como o trabalho delas se relacionam com outros artistas europeus no contexto da crise climática. E eu também perguntei para elas como elas enxergam a relação entre o trabalho artístico que elas fazem e o ativismo ambiental. Eu vou passar a palavra para elas de novo. Lynn, Hilda, if you don't mind, you can answer my questions now. Thank you again.
Yes. You were talking about this. This is a kind of a system that we can use in every way, either if it's a silent activism or a more, I don't know if you can say it, but noisy ones. I don't really know if you remember we were talking about that.
I think in the question is how it relates to environmentalism or environmental activism. This is what we call artivism. I'm not sure if that will, it translates correctly. And we were looking for a quiet way of resistance and different way to talk about things, because talking about nature, the value of nature and culture and art and communities, when you are facing the logics and language of money and extraction and industrial expansion, is very, very difficult, because the language is limited. The language of policy is limited to be about how we can make more jobs, how we can make more money, how we can progress, and it's always in terms of money. And we wanted to try to find a way of talking about the values that are not so easily seen, like nature's value, people's value, and the value of relationship and community. And we feel that art is a very good language and a very good place to be when you want to express several things at the same time, because an artwork will mean something different to whoever will come across it, depending on their background, context, and perceptions. And an artwork can therefore hold different meanings at once. And this is some of the complexity that we are looking for. But of course, we base our methodology on a lot of thinkers throughout the times, like, ecological thinkers and philosophers and artists and other artist manifestos. We've been looking for other artists and people talking about and living with and experiencing and working with the same issues as ourselves. And we've been, it's not that our methods are new, it's a collection of methods we have found that we feel resonates with what we are experiencing here now.
Well, thank you so much for your inspiring speech. I'm sure it will be very good for our students to let you know and to let you know the work. And also, thank you so much for the festival, the organizing committee. Muito obrigada novamente à organização do Festival do Conhecimento, edição 2025, à Pró-Reitoria de Extensão. Obrigada para quem assistiu a masterclass da Lynn e da Hilda. Lynn and Hilda, also, I hope to see you soon here in Brazil.
Yeah.
Thank you again, and see you next time. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much for having us. We are very happy to be here. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Obrigada Pró-Reitoria.